Hello and welcome back to Globesweeper Hex Puzzler. Today's the day, kind of the day that we've all been waiting for, the ring. What I previously thought was the hardest level in the game, but after just going through and practicing it, it does take a long time, and there's going to be one hell of a long video, but like I mentioned, I do think Bite Size might be harder to logically explain than the ring. The ring is just hard because it's very cluttered and it's hard to tell what clues can actually give you information. And also, just a quick note, in the last one, Bite Size, I wasn't sure if I was gonna split up the level into multiple videos, but I decided against doing that. I'm gonna try to go through these in one video per level, but that means I'm gonna have to put these out much more infrequently, so let's get into the ring, and it's already quite late. I went through and practiced once. I don't think I'm gonna be able to remember every single thing, so you'll have to excuse me if I have to take time to think, and if I flub my commentary here and there. This is one hell of an endurance level, and I'm just gonna try this once. If I fail, I'm gonna just leave it for another day, so let's jump in. So, the ring is a massive, massive level. I don't want to touch anything because I want to start at this point, because it's very easy to lose track of where you are. So the starting point here is this line here, but let's press the X button on the keyboard to mark all of the lines in the puzzle, and then when we're done with a line, we can just click it to remove that line, so we know which lines have stuff left to figure out, or things left for us to deduce, and things, lines that are already done. Off to a great start here. So this puzzle is all about endurance and figuring out what tiles in a line have to be marked no matter what. So if we start at this line here, we have a minimum 2 and a maximum 3. I'm gonna try to be a bit methodical for the first portion here. We're gonna go through all of the vertical lines in the entire circle, then all of the diagonal lines in the entire circle, and then we'll probably start mixing and matching a bit and jumping around, because I felt that actually worked out pretty well in practice. So, minimum 2, maximum 3. We have to have a 2 chain, and we have to have a 3 chain, at least one of each. And can we determine anything about what you actually need in this line? And well, the answer is yes, but I guess just to illustrate this, I'm gonna show this in Paint, because this is gonna come up quite a lot in this level. Alright, so the key here is if you start from either end, it doesn't matter where, and we just place in the sequence that we have to have. We have to have a 2 chain somewhere, and then we have to have a gap between the 2 chain and the potential 3 chain, and then we need to have a 3 chain. That leaves us with one gap, one tile of flexibility, so to speak. So there's only one possible tile besides this gap between the 3 and 2 that we can delete from this puzzle. So at the end of the puzzle, we can only delete one tile. We could have this the other way around. We could have a 3 chain here, and a gap here, and a 2 chain there, or it could be a double gap and a 2 chain. We don't know that. But what we do know is, like I said, we can't delete more than one tile at the end. If we delete 2 tiles, then now we don't have enough space for the 2 chain and the 3 chain. And that's the key here. What would happen if we just delete the second tile on either side? Because we have a minimum 2, if we delete the second tile, we also have to delete this first tile, because we can't make a minimum 2 chain out of it. So if this tile is gone, this tile is also gone, and now we can't fit our 2 and 3 chain in. And say, oh, Jesus. Same on this side. If we delete this second tile, we cannot fit a 2 and 3 chain in. So both second tiles from either side have to be marked in this case. And while we're in Paint, I might as well show this line as well, over here. Minimum 2, maximum 4. This one you can deduce even more. So if we start from the bottom here, we mark a 2 chain, and then we will have to have a gap, and then we have to have a 4 chain. In this one, we don't have any flexibility whatsoever. The only thing we don't know is if this is the 2 chain, and this is the 4 chain, or if we'll flip this and do this instead, where we have a 2 chain and a 4 chain here. But we have to use all of the tiles available. So the only tile that isn't completely sure are these 2 tiles. The gap has to be one of these 2 tiles, and then one of these sections will be the 4 chain, and the other will be the 2 chain. But it could be a 4 chain here and a 2 chain here. But these two, and the center tile have to be marked in a minimum 2, maximum 4, because we have to have a 4 chain and a 2 chain. That's all I'll do in Paint for now, so let's get back into the actual game and start clicking some tiles. Alright, so back here, we had this minimum 2, maximum 3, so we have to mark these 2 second tiles from either end. And then here again, we have a minimum 2, maximum 3, so same thing there. We're just gonna do the same pattern on many of these lines here. Like we said here, minimum 2, maximum 4, we have to utilize all of the tiles. We have to have a 2 chain here, a 2 chain here, and the center tile marked in order to make a 4 chain, either here or here. We don't know which one yet. Here we have a minimum 5, maximum 5, so in these 7 tiles we have to have a 5 chain, which means we have to mark the center 3 tiles, because to make a 5 chain, if we start from here, we would mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so these 3 tiles, and if we started at the latest possible point, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Same thing there. We still have to mark these 3 tiles, because that's the only way to make a 5 chain. 2 tiles here, or 1 on either side, or 2 tiles down here. Here again, we have a minimum 2, maximum 3, so we get the same thing, second tiles there. Now here is where I'm going to break the methodical checking only the vertical tiles. Whenever we get cluster clues, I tend to find it's easier to just look at those directly or immediately. So here we have a 5 cluster, which obviously can't connect up to the 22 cluster, so this tile between them has to be disconnected. Let's just leave it at that for now. We'll look at diagonals later on. This line we can't say anything about. This line has a 1 and a 5, and this is the same as we saw before. If we place a 1 tile here, we can have a gap here, and then we have only 5 tiles remaining. So yet again, we have to use all of the tiles available to us. So the question is just, is the 1 tile here with a gap here, or is the 1 tile here with a gap here? So these 2 second tiles are the only tiles that we don't know anything about. Either one of these could be a gap, and either one of them could be marked. But all other tiles in this line have to be marked so that we can fit a 1 tile and a 5 chain, or a 1 tile and a 5 chain. Here we have a minimum and maximum 6, so we just need 1 6 chain. And since we have 7 tiles here, we have to mark all of the tiles except for the end tiles, because to make a 6 chain we have to use this tile and disconnect this one, or this tile and disconnect this one. Now we got a 17 and 19 cluster that can't be connected up, so all of the tiles between them can be disconnected, but let's leave all of that for now, beyond that point. Can't say anything about this line, or this one. Here we have another minimum 2, maximum 3, so same as we've seen before, the second tiles have to be marked. Nothing here, nothing here, nothing. 2 and 4, we've seen that before, so 2 tiles here, 2 tiles here, and the center tile. Again, I'm not gonna re-explain why you do this on every one of these, so just look back at the first one for the reasoning, I suppose, if you don't know that. But yeah, so we have a 2 cluster here now with two tiles already, so all of the tiles connected to it can be disconnected. And now, since we have a 2 cluster here, we have to have a 4 chain, so this is our only spot for the 4 chain. And we can disconnect, or unmark this line, because it's now done. In this line, minimum 4, maximum 4, we have to have a 4 chain, which the only thing we can determine from this is that the center tile in this 7 tile line has to be marked. If we disconnect the center tile, we only have 3 tiles up here and 3 tiles down here. So the center tile is required to be part of the 4 chain. Here we have another minimum 2, maximum 3, so I mean same thing we've seen, second tile and second tile. Here we don't say anything. This one, again, minimum 2, maximum 4, same as we've seen before, same pattern. Minimum 2, maximum 3, second tiles. A 5 chain has to use the 3 center tiles, we saw that before, and then finish with these two, or 1 on either side. The 15 and 13 can't connect up, so this tile is deleted. A minimum 1, maximum 4. This one you actually can't say anything beyond just the 4 chain. We need to have a 4 chain in these 7 tiles, which means the center tile has to be marked. If we disconnect this, we can't make a 4 chain anymore. But we don't know anything more than that. We can't determine more tiles on the 4, as far as I can figure out anyway, even though we know we need to have a 1 tile as well. We get a 13 and 11, those can't be connected up, so disconnect the tiles between them. Same thing here, we need to have a 4 chain, so the center tile has to be marked. Can't say anything here. 2 and 4 again, so same pattern there. I don't want to unmark it right now. 2 and 3, second tiles again. 2 and 3, second tiles again. 3 and 3, just 3 chains we don't know. This one we don't know. This one, 4 chain, so middle tile has to be marked in order to make a 4 chain. Same thing here, middle tile. This one, second tiles, minimum 2, maximum 3. This one we don't know. This one, minimum 2, maximum 4. Same pattern we've seen before. This one, minimum 2, maximum 3. Second tiles, we've seen that before. Same thing here. It's just the same pattern pretty much all the way around. Nothing here. Minimum 2, maximum 3. Same thing again. 5 chain here, we have to use the center 3 tiles. And then either one of these and either one of these, or both. Now, we actually can already say that this 5 cannot connect up to this tile. If it does, we do get a 5 chain, so that's all well and good, but this chain has to have a 5 chain, so this line. So we have to add in 2 more tiles to this cluster, which, if this 5 would connect up to here, would give it 7 instead. And there's also other ones, like this line has to have a minimum 2 here, so it also will add another tile to the 5. So this one actually can't be connected up, and we can disconnect this tile already. Nothing here. 6 chain here, so all of the tiles except the ends. We have a 5 chain here, and then one of these tiles will be the final tile. A 4 chain here, center tile has to be marked, that's all we can say. Another 6 chain, so all but the edges can be marked. Another 4 chain here, so the middle tile has to be marked for a 4 chain. And that's it. Now we're done with our first little lap around the ring. Now, let's start looking at the diagonals, and let's only look at the diagonals and the cluster clues. So there's going to be a lot of new information for the vertical lines that we deduce, but let's just go around it one full revolution before we start muddling it up and mixing in multiple lines or axes. So let's start with this line. Minimum 2, and it goes all the way up here to a maximum 8. So this tile has to be a minimum 2, so 2 there. This has to be a minimum 2, so 2 there. But we also have to have an 8 chain somewhere here. We obviously can't have an 8 chain here, so we have to have our 8 chain in these tiles. And I think I have to sneeze. 1 second. Excuse me? So we need to have an 8 chain in these tiles. And what if we don't use these 3 tiles? If this 3 chain is not part of the 8 chain, we would have to disconnect this tile, and then we're only left with 5 tiles. So it's not possible to fit in an 8 chain without using these already existing 3 tiles, which means we have to start from here. We have to mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we have our 8 chains, so we disconnect this final tile. And now we have a 2 chain here. We can't mark this tile, or we don't leave a 2 chain for the minimum 2. So this tile is disconnected as well, and the line is completed. Now let's just move on. This line, minimum 2, maximum 7. This tile has to be part of a minimum 2 chain. And actually already again, we can say that this 5 can't connect up this tile, because if it does, if we were to mark more than a 2 chain right here, then this 5 would get 5 tiles, but this line is a minimum 3, maximum 3, so we would have to make a 3 chain here, adding way too many tiles for the 5. So this tile already, we can say, can't be marked, and we can disconnect that tile. And then, in this line as well, we need to have a 7 cluster somewhere, a 7 chain. And if we start here at the very earliest point, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These 4 tiles, notably. If we start from this side, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, these 4 tiles. So we only have 3 tiles of leniency in this, or flexibility in this line. So to fit a 7 chain, we can only shift it 3 tiles this way or 3 tiles this way. So these 4 tiles here have to be marked for the 7 chain. And we also had this tile now, just luckily, so we now have 5 out of the 7. So the 7 can at most go down here, and at most go down up to here. Which means this tile now can't be marked. Because, actually... No, I think... Can it? I don't even know. I think that it might be able to... We can have a 2 chain here, and then disconnect this tile, and then have a 7 chain here. But I think that might also cause some other issues if we do that, but I don't know. Okay, that might be a wrong thought, so let's just leave that. Next line here is a minimum 1, maximum 1. So any tile has to be part of only a 1 chain. So this tile can't be connected up to anything else, and same for this one. So we just disconnect all of those tiles. This line is a minimum 2 and maximum 4. So this has to be a minimum 2 chain, this has to be a minimum 2 chain, and this has to be a minimum 2 chain. I think that's all we can say about that one. Here again, minimum 2, maximum 5 this time. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. But that's also all we can say, I believe. Right? I think so, at least for right now. Here again, minimum 5, minimum 2, maximum 5. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And that's all we can say now. This line, minimum 3, maximum 5. This tile has to be part of a minimum 3 chain, so 1, 2, and 3. And then we have to have a 5 chain somewhere in here. But I don't think we can determine much more right now. Here, minimum 6, maximum 6. So any tile in here has to be exactly a 6 chain. So this tile we already have, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then disconnect that. But now we could still have another 6 chain here, but if we lose any tile here, we have to lose the entire row here. Now, this line... Yeah, this line we can actually say stuff about right away, and maybe I should show this in paint again. It's the same concept that we saw in the vertical lines. Here we have a minimum 3 and a maximum 8. So if we place... Yeah, let's just do this in paint, it's easier to visualize. Alright. We're looking at this line here. Minimum 3, maximum 8. If we place the tiles as early as we can, just a 3 chain here, a gap, and then an 8 chain here, you see that we only have 1 tile of leniency, or flexibility. So we can only shift either one of these 1 tile, but we could flip them. We could have the 8 chain here, and the 3 chain up here, or we could have an 8 chain and then 2 gaps, and then a 3 chain. We don't know that, but it's the same concept as early on, where we only have 1 tile that we can potentially remove that isn't the gap between the 3 and 8. So, if we find something that would remove more than 1 tile on the edge of the line here, that would cause issues. And because we have a minimum 3, that is both of these 2 tiles here. If we remove the 2nd or 3rd tile here, let's work with a 3rd one, then we can't fit a minimum 3 chain in these 2 tiles here, so these would also be removed, and we are left with 3 here, and a gap, and then only 6 tiles, so we can't fit in the 8 chain. And same on this side, we can't remove either of the 2nd or 3rd tiles, so those 2 both have to be marked on either side. But now also, we can look at the 8 here, which... how do you count this? Sorry, I had to think for a second. The 8 here, you can just think about where the 8 can be in this puzzle, or in this line, and what tiles are required for it. If the 8 were to start here at the very earliest point, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, ignore this one. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just these 3 tiles, keep that in mind. If we start the 8 all the way over here, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So again, we have to mark these 3 tiles for whatever the 8 chain ends up being. If we remove any of these tiles, we don't have enough tiles left to fit an 8 chain in this line, any of these 3 tiles. So all of these are also guaranteed. So the second and third tile from both sides and the 3 center tiles all have to be marked in this line of minimum 3, maximum 8. So that's what I mean about learning to deduce what is mandatory in each line and in each clue. So these 2 have to be marked, these 2 have to be marked, and these 3 center tiles have to be marked. Now we can just move on. This line we can't say anything about. This line has a minimum 1, maximum 9. We already have a 1 tile, so we don't necessarily have to mark this one or remove it, but we have to have a 9 chain here. And if we start here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We only have exactly enough tiles to fit the 9 chain, so we have to mark all of these in order to fit it in. But now, again, we have a tile here, so the minimum 1 is fulfilled, but that doesn't mean we can't have another 1 tile here. So we can't say anything about that quite yet. Yeah, that's all we can do now. Then the next line over, we have just a one chain line, so we can't say anything here. This line now, 3, minimum 3 and maximum 8, that is the same that we had here, minimum 3, maximum 8, so it's the exact same thing. We have to mark the second and third tile for both sides, and we have to mark the center 3 tiles for both sides. But I think we can also determine more here, because these 2 tiles cannot be part of the 8 chain here. So these 2 and these 2 both have to be part of either the 3 or the 8, because we only have just enough tiles plus 1 in order to fit the 3 and 8 chain. So these 2 tiles now can't be the 8 chain, because if it is, then we would have to connect up the 22 and 6, and the 6 would get far too many tiles, and it would also clash. So these 2 tiles actually have to be the 3 chain already, and these 3 and these 2 tiles have to be the 8 chain, which means we can already link these up. We get 7 tiles, and then one of these 2 tiles will be the final 8 tile. But that's all we can say about that. But I think we might be able to count this one as well. Can we do that already? I don't know if it's worth doing right now, but I guess why not? Here we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. If we were to connect up anything here, we would get 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, never mind. This is gonna come into play later on, because yeah, I know these will be removed, but this is a bit too early to look at that, so let's just leave that off for now. Let's focus on the diagonals. So let's move on here. Minimum 2, maximum 3. That's the kind of scatterbrained stuff you'll have to deal with here, because again, this level is horribly cluttered, and it's hard to know what you can and can't look at any given time. So we have a minimum 2 here, 1 tile here, we have to make it a minimum 2 chain, and that's all we can say here. But now we can actually look at this 6 cluster already. This 6 cluster, you would think, oh yeah, it can definitely connect up here, because then we get a perfect 6 cluster. Except, similar to the 5 earlier, this line is a minimum and maximum 3. So if either of these tiles are marked, we would have to make it a 3 chain, which would be too many for the 6. So these 2 tiles both can be removed already. And now, that gives us, we can just move backwards a little bit, and we have our 2 chain here. We have to make it a minimum 3, so we have to connect this up, and now disconnect the 2 and 6, 22 and 6, and same here, this tile can't connect up the 22 and 6. And now, our 8 has to be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So now this line is already done. Now, I don't think we can say much about this line, so let's skip that, but here we have a minimum 4, maximum 5. So this tile has to be a minimum 4, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. And from here, we could mark 1, we could mark 2, but we have to mark 3 and then 4. Even if we start here, this tile will be marked as the 4th tile, and if we don't start here, we have to start here and mark 1, 2, and then more. So this tile will be marked for the 4, minimum 4, in either case. But I think that's all we can do now. So let's move on here. This one I don't think we can say anything about. This one has a minimum and maximum 1, so this tile can't be connected up to anything, so disconnect those two tiles. Here we get a minimum 4, maximum 5 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, but now we already made our 5, and it's a max 5, so this has to be disconnected. And this tile cannot be part of a minimum 4 chain, so now we have to have our 4 chain, that we still don't have, in these 5 tiles, so we have to use the 3 center tiles, and then either this tile or this tile to make a 4 chain. Here we have another minimum and maximum 1 chain, so none of these tiles can be connected up to anything else, so just disconnect all of these tiles from each other. And then here, minimum 2, maximum 3, we can't say anything about that. Let's leave that. Here, a minimum 1, maximum 3, can't say anything. I hate how this keeps tilting a little bit when you rotate it. Minimum 5, maximum 7. This one, again, you can think about the flexibility. So if we start here at the start, maybe I should show this in Paint again. Yeah, why not? Let's show it in Paint. It's easier to think about that way. Alright, so same thing as we've done before. Mark a 5 chain. It doesn't matter if you start with a 5 here or over here, but we have a 5 chain, and then a gap, and then a 7 chain, and we use up all of the tiles. In order to make a 5 and a 7, we have to use all the tiles available in this entire line. But the flexibility here, or the gap, can be either here, or it could be here. We could delete this tile and mark this one and have a 7 chain here, and a 5 chain up here. Yeah, right here. I got confused by the 13 for a second. But yeah, so these 2 tiles, we can't say if they're marked or not, but all of the other tiles in the entire line have to be marked so that we can fit a 5 and a 7 chain. So, these 2 don't touch, but all the other tiles we have to mark, like so. And then we move on to minimum 7, maximum 7. We can't say much here, but this line has 13 tiles, so in order to make a 7 chain, we have to mark the middle tile. I think that's the middle tile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one. Because this could be the final tile from all the way over here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it could be the final tile all the way from over there. But it doesn't have to be the final tile, but either way, if it goes all the way to either side, the 7, this tile in the middle has to be marked anyway. If this is disconnected, we only have 6 here and 6 here. This line, another 1 line, so disconnect these 2 tiles here. Minimum 5, maximum 5, so we have to make 5 chains, so 2 and 3, 4, 5, and then disconnect it. Here, minimum 6, maximum 6, so make 6 chains. If it starts at the earliest point, we get 1, 2, 3, and then we have to mark 4, 5, and 6. But it could go on here, we don't know. Here, minimum 3, maximum 5. Don't think we can say anything here. We can already say this 13 and 18 can't connect up, so this tile has to be removed. I guess let's just do this real quick. This line now has a 2 chain and needs a 4 chain, so mark that and disconnect, or unmark the line. But let's leave it at that for now. Now, this line is a minimum 3, maximum 3, so we have to make all these tiles into 3 chains exactly. So 1, 2, and 3, and disconnect it, and then somehow this has to be a 3 chain, but we don't know. This one, minimum 2, maximum 4, can't say anything. Minimum 5, maximum 6. From the start, if we mark this 1, 2, we still have to mark 3, 4, and 5 in order to have a minimum 5 chain. And then, I think in this one as well, even if we start at the earliest point with the 5 tiles here, and a gap here, we then have 6 tiles with just 1 tile of leniency, of flexibility. Again, I don't know what to call it really. But same thing here as we've seen before. We can't delete the second tile, or third, or fourth. We have to mark... I guess I'll show this in Paint again, it's just easier to see that way. I feel like it's better to show too much in Paint than not enough, because it can be confusing to try and just explain things in words. But if we were to mark this 5 chain here, disconnect this tile, and then mark the 6 chain as early as we can, we have 1 tile of flexibility where they can move along this line. That means that we can't disconnect more than just one tile plus the gap between these two. So if we were to disconnect this tile, then we would have to disconnect this as well, and now we can't fit in the 6 and 5. Same with this one, same with this one, and same with this one. We can't disconnect any of these 4 tiles here, because if we even disconnect this tile, now we can't fit a minimum 5 in here. So this is the earliest tile we could disconnect and fit a 5 chain in. So these 4 tiles all have to be marked, and these 4 tiles all have to be marked. And then, yeah, we can't say anything about the center tile here, because if the 5 were to go here, the 6 could go down here and not use the center tile. But again, these 4 tiles here, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, on either side cannot be disconnected, or we can't fit a 5 and 6 chain in. So mark this tile, and mark these 4 tiles. Now this 16 and 22 can't be connected up, and this line is just done here. Now this minimum 4, maximum 6, we can't say too much about, but if the 4 were to start here, we get 1, 2, 3, and then we have to mark this tile regardless for a minimum 4. And same here, 1, 2, 3, and we have to mark this tile for a minimum 4 chain in some way. Here we get a minimum 3, maximum 3, we can't say anything about that. I don't think. No, I'm just thinking a little bit. This one, we can't say much about. I mean, we actually can. I don't think it's necessary, really, but we can say that this 5 chain can't actually be connected up to this 5 chain. We can't start the 5 chain here, or here, or here, because then this tile has to have a minimum 2, so we have to mark 1 more here, so the 5 chain would not be able to connect up to this tile. So the earliest point we could have a 5 chain in this line would be right here. So if we start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we get this tile, and if we start from the latest point, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, same tile. If this tile is disconnected, we can no longer fit a 5 chain in that doesn't touch this 5 cluster, and it makes it impossible to complete this vertical line here. So you actually can right away mark this tile. Not that that really matters much. I don't think you needed to do that at all. Minimum 2 here and maximum 3, 1 and 2, and max 3. We got a 3 chain now, so we have to disconnect this tile. This 16 and 22 can't be connected up here either, so that you can disconnect. Here we have a minimum 3, maximum 4. I don't think we can say much about that. Here, minimum 3, maximum 5. Nothing much. Here, minimum 1, maximum 2. We know that we can't connect up this tile because then we would get a 3 chain. So that can be disconnected, but that's all we can say for now, I believe. Minimum 3, maximum 3, we don't know. Here, another minimum and maximum 1, so all of these tiles have to be disconnected from the neighbors. Minimum 2, maximum 4, we don't know. Minimum 3, yeah, just 3 chains there, we don't know. Here, minimum 4, maximum 6, so here we have to mark 1, 2, 3, and 4. And here, 1, 2, 3, and this tile has to be marked for the 4th tile, regardless of whether we start here or here. And now, can we do the same thing again? The 6... No, the 6 could be all the way here, but it could also be over here. I don't think we can say anything more about this line right now. This one only needs 3 chains, we don't know that or anything about that yet. I'm not missing anything there. And I think that's it. I think we've actually completed our full lap around. So now we have to start looking at everything at once. So this is gonna get messy at this point. So right here, this line is already done. We have a 4 chain and a 2 chain, so disconnect this tile. Yeah, this one we can't say anything about. This one we can't say anything about. Well, here, 19 and 17 cluster can't be connected up, so these tiles have to be disconnected. And now we get our 5 chain here, has to be there, and disconnect that tile. This line has a max and minimum 1, so this tile can't be connected up to these 2. And this line has to have a 3 chain. We only have 5 tiles, so the center tile has to be marked, and then we have a 3 chain either up here or down here or in the middle. I don't think we can count this. We have 5, 9, 10. We'll get 11, 12. But yeah, that doesn't mean much right now. I'm just thinking about this one. Because yeah, I guess we can't have... This has to be our 7 cluster here. But the 7 cluster can't connect up to 2 tiles over here, or it would connect up to 5 and 22. So at most, it could go here. So if it starts here at the earliest, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have to mark this tile now for 7. So it's either this tile or this tile as our last tile in the 7 cluster. But that's all we can say there for right now. Right here, we have to have a minimum and maximum 3. We have a 3 cluster, so disconnect those. And then we can't make another one in these 2 tiles, so they are also disconnected. Yeah, as I said, it's gonna get messy here. I'm definitely gonna need some time to think here and there, because again, this one is just very cluttered. It's hard to remember exactly what to do at all the steps. So just a moment. I see something I can do. I'm just looking for other stuff as well. Yeah, well now I think we can look at our, well okay, first let's look at this one. Minimum 4, maximum 4. So we can't fit a 4 chain in here, and we have to fit a 4 chain in here. Now let's just count our 22 here. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we can only have 4 more. So this whole line can now no longer connect up to the 22. It would give far too many tiles. So all of these tiles can be disconnected. That's kind of the thing I was thinking about earlier. And I don't think we can really do much here yet. Well, we can actually look at this line. Minimum 1, maximum 3. We have to have a 3 chain somewhere, and we only have this space that we can fit a 3 chain in. So we have to mark the center 2 tiles in order to make a 3 chain, and that creates our 3 chain, so we can disconnect this top tile, and we have to leave a single tile for the minimum 1 as well, which is this tile, so this one cannot be marked either. And now this line is done. Yeah, let's leave it at that there for now. This line here, minimum 2, maximum 3. This tile has to go up to here for minimum 2, and then we have a maximum 3, so this tile is disconnected. And... right, this 6 cluster here we can already deduce something from. So we have 3 tiles in the 6 cluster. In these 2 tiles we can at most have 1 tile, because we have a minimum and maximum 1. So regardless, this 6 can at most get 4 here, and has to use at least one of these 2 tiles to go downward. And because it has to use at least one of these tiles, it has to use both, because we have a minimum 2 here. So if this tile is marked, this one also has to be marked, and vice versa. So this 6 cluster cannot finish without using these tiles, so we have to mark both of them. And I think that's it for now. Yeah, let's move on from that. Right here, we have only 4 tiles. We need to make a 3 chain, so we have to mark the center 2 tiles, and then either here or here make a 3 chain. But this 6 cluster has 5 tiles and can't connect up to 2 more. That would give it 6, 7, and 8. So these 2 tiles now have to be disconnected, giving us this tile as the final tile in the 3 cluster, 3 line. Now we can actually say, for the 6 cluster again, this tile cannot be marked now, because we have 5 tiles in this 6. If we were to mark this tile, that would be the final tile, the 6th tile, 6th tile, and then here in this line, we have a minimum 3. So if we were to mark this tile, we would have to make it a minimum 3, which is too many for the 6, and would connect up to 6 and 26. So this tile now can't be marked. And we still don't know which one of these will be the final tile for the 6, because we could have a 3 cluster here, and this could be our 2 in this line, so we have to wait with that for now. And here now, we have the minimum 3 that we saw. Even if we start here, this would only be the second tile, so we have to mark this tile as well to make a 3 chain. And now, we can't mark this first tile. If we do, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's too many for the max 4 here. So this tile can be disconnected. And at that point, we can now only fit our 3 chain in this line up here, and this tile has to be preserved as our minimum 1, or the 1 tile for our minimum 1. So that's disconnected. And this line is now done. This minimum 2 can't fit a 2 chain here, so that's disconnected, and this line is now done. And can we count the 22 already? I think we can. So here we have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So we need 2 more for the 22. But if we were to use either of these 2 tiles, we would get 4 more. So that's too many, we can disconnect these 2 tiles. And that means we have to mark a minimum 3 here, so we connect these up here, and here as well, 1, 2, and 3. And this is also a maximum 3, so we can only make 3 chains. So this can't fit a 3 chain anymore, so we have to disconnect that. And at that point... Right, yeah, this is a bit of a tricky thing. So this tile cannot be marked in this line, because we have a 4 chain here, and we have max 5. Minimum 4, maximum 5. If we were to mark this tile here, these 2 tiles would have to be part of a 4 or 5 chain, and if we go over here, then we suddenly make a 7 chain. And if we go over this way instead, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which is too many for the 5. So this tile in the middle here actually can't be marked at all, or it doesn't, it gets too many tiles for the 4 and 5. So that you can already remove. But now I think we can just count the 22 here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And in this line, this tile has to be part of a minimum 2 chain. So one of these 2 tiles will be completing the 22, and these 2 tiles cannot be marked. And that means we have to have only a 2 here, which means we have to have our 3 chain up here instead. And that completes the 6 cluster there. Now... here, again, minimum 4. We have a minimum 4 here, but this tile now has to become a minimum 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and now it's our max 5, so we have to disconnect this tile, and this tile as well, which can't be part of a minimum 4 chain. And now, we have a 5 cluster here, or a 5 chain, and we have to preserve 1 4 chain, so this 4 chain has to be our 4 chain, and we have to disconnect this tile and mark this final tile for the 22. So now, this line is done, and this line is done. Now, this 15 cluster and 13 cluster can't connect up, so none of these 3 tiles can be connected. And here we get a minimum 3, so even if it starts here, we get 1, 2, and we have to mark this tile for 3. And here, minimum 2, this tile has to be part of a minimum 2 chain. And now... Right, yeah, we could have just seen this. We have a 3 chain here. We don't have our 4 chain yet, so we have to mark all of the tiles here to make the 4 chain. Now those are done. Alright, and then here, minimum, maximum 5. Even if we start here, we would only have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have to mark this tile as well for the 4th or 5th tile in the 5 chain. And if we count the 13 here, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If we were to connect up this tile, we would get far too many for the 13 cluster. So this one you can delete already. And we can actually look at this 13 cluster even more. So again, we have 10 tiles in the 13. In this line, we have to have a 3 chain, so one of these 2 tiles has to be marked. So that's already 11 tiles at least for this 13. Now, in this line, we have a minimum, maximum 3. So if we mark any tile here, we have to mark all of them. But since we have 11 tiles at least here, if we mark all of them, we would get 12, 13, and 14. So for the 13, we cannot have a 3 chain here, so we can disconnect all of the tiles there. That gives us the final tile in this 5 chain here. And did we get anything else? Not really. Well, we can look at this line here, which has a minimum 1, maximum 4, and at this point, we only have enough tiles to place those tiles. So either we'll get a 1 tile here, a gap, and then a 4 chain, or we'll get a 1 tile here, a gap, and then a 4 chain. So the edge tiles have to be marked, the gap has to be one of these 2 tiles, and this tile also has to be marked as part of the 4 chain. And now the 13 and 11 can't connect up here, so disconnect that tile. And then here we have a minimum 2, so this has to be part of a minimum 2 chain. And here as well a minimum 2. It's also a maximum 3, so this tile has to be disconnected now. And now our 13... yeah, wait, can we do that already? Our 13 has 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We'll have one of these. But yeah, we don't know which one just yet, so let's wait with that. This one is done as well. I don't think we can do anything here quite yet. Oh, and right here, max 3, we already have a 3 chain, so this we can just disconnect right away, and then minimum 2, we have to make a 2 chain here. So at this point now, first minimum 6 here, we have to mark this, and it's a maximum 6 as well, so we have to disconnect this tile. Now we have 6, 11, 12. If we connect up this tile, we get 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, so 20. So at that point, we can't use this tile. And this tile as well, I believe. What did we have? 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That actually does work, so let's hold off on that. Oh, but this line, minimum 7, maximum 7, we can't fit a 7 in here, so we have to disconnect these tiles. And if we start here, we get 1, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So one of these 2 tiles has to be our 7 chain, but the 13 and 16 cluster here can't connect up, so we can disconnect all of these tiles. And the 16 and 18 can't connect up, so this tile is also disconnected. At that point, we have to make this our 7 cluster here. This one as well, minimum 5, we have to connect this up to our 7 tile, 7 line that we needed there, or chain rather. Right here, we have a minimum and maximum 3. This can't be part of a 3 chain. We have to make this a 3 chain, disconnect it, and this can't be part of a 3 chain. The 13 and 11 can't connect up, so all of these tiles can be disconnected. And now we have to fit our 4 chain in these tiles here. This line can only have single tiles, so this is disconnected here. This line has to fit a 4 chain in here, so that's done. And this line now has a minimum 2, maximum 3. This has to be a minimum 2 chain, so we have to connect this up. And now we have 2 3 chains, and we have to preserve 1 2 chain. So this has to be our 2 chain now, and we can't mark this final tile. So now we finally complete the 13 cluster that we left. Just unmark some lines here. This 11 and 13 can't connect up, so that's disconnected. And this line, oh, not that one is done. No, we can just count the 13 here. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so this tile is disconnected. And that gives us this line, which has minimum 1, maximum 3. We have 3 single tiles. We have to have a 3 chain as well, and this is our only spot for that. Now this line is done, we have a max 3, and we have to have a 2 chain as well, which we do, so disconnect this tile. I think this 16... Oh yeah, first off, minimum 3, maximum 3, we have to make this a 3 chain, then disconnect it, then make it a 3 chain, and the line is done. And then this line, min max 1, so disconnect these tiles. The 16 and 18 can't connect up, so disconnect this tile. But now I think the 16 is already done if I remember correctly. So we have 9 tiles here, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So these tiles have to be removed. Now at this point, we have to place a 2 chain in this line, and the only space for it is right here. So we have to use this center tile for a 2 chain, and either here or here. Here we have a minimum 3, so 1, 2, and 3, and this is also a maximum 3, so this has to be disconnected at this point. Here we also have a minimum 3, so if it starts here, we get 1, 2, and then we have to have 3 here at least. And can we count the 18 here? We have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17, and this has to be our 18th tile, one of these two at least. So that will complete the 18, this tile and this tile cannot be marked, and because of that, we now have to make our 2 chain here using this tile, and that completes the 18 cluster, so we disconnect the remaining tiles connected to it. Now, we can still have a 5 chain there, so we can't say anything about that. Yeah, this is where I need to think a bit more. This line, min, max 1, so we have a tile here, we have to disconnect the neighbors there. Okay, here we can look at something. Minimum 2, maximum 5. We can't fit a 5 chain anywhere in here, we have to fit our 5 chain in here. And if we were to start from the earliest point, we would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have to mark these 3 tiles regardless. I mean, we couldn't even start it from here because then we connect up the 22 and 17. So we already know that tile can't be our 5 chain, but I mean, I guess just this 3 chain has to be part of our 5 chain. So this is the only spot we can fit a 5. We have to fit it in there and then disconnect it because it's now a 5 chain. And then this can't be a minimum 2 now, so this also has to be disconnected. That now gives us another tile here on this 5 chain. And now I think we can count this 22 a bit. Also this 17 and 22 can't connect up, so this tile is disconnected. But yeah, let's count the 22. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. If we connect up this tile, we would get 20, and then far too many for the 22. So these can't be marked. And this line now has a minimum, maximum 3. So this tile can't be part of a minimum, maximum 3 chain. We also can't connect up the 22 and 5. So that tile's gone, which gives us the 5 chain here and completes that. And we need to make a 3 chain here and disconnect it there. Now we can't connect up this 22 to these tiles again. So those are gone. And yeah, I guess that's that for now. We can't count this 17, can we? Actually, we can just look at this line. We have a minimum 2, maximum 4, and we don't have our 4 chain yet. We have a 3 chain here and a 2 chain. We have to have a 4 chain, and this is our only spot for it. So since we have 5 tiles, we have to use the center 3 tiles to make a 4 chain. And now we have our 4 chain, so this tile is disconnected and the line is done. Here we get our minimum 2. And then here we have to have a 3 chain somewhere. So it has to be these 2 tiles and then one of these 2. But the 5 and 17 can't connect up, so these are disconnected. And the 22 and 5 can't connect up, so this is disconnected as well, giving us this 3 chain. And now the 5 has to go on here to complete as a 5 cluster. So that's done. This line now has to have our 7 chain. We have a 6. We have to mark this final tile for the 7th tile. And here, we have to make this a 3 chain. So there we go, and then disconnect this tile. Minimum 2 here means we have to mark this tile, completing the 17 cluster. And we can still mark more tiles here. We have our 5 chain already. I guess we'll count this 19. We have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17. We'll get 18 tiles here, one of these tiles. And Yeah, I guess we can look at that. That's not what I remember doing, but we can do that. So, what did I just say? Oh boy, it's very late. Sorry. 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have 2 tiles left. We need one of these marked for the 6 chain, so we need only one more tile for the 19. Now, in this line, we need a minimum 3 and maximum 5, and we only have enough tiles exactly to fit both in. If we have a 3 chain here, a gap here, we only have 5 tiles left. But then if this is the 5 chain, we would add 2 more tiles to the 19 cluster, and that's not possible. We can't have this be our 5 chain, this has to be our 3 chain, disconnected there, and then we fit in our 5 chain on this tile, this line here. And now, this 19 can't connect up to this tile, it would get too many tiles, and this tile, it would get too many tiles. Also connecting up to the 21 there. Now, at that point, this line, minimum 3, maximum 8, has to have an 8 chain, and this is our only spot for it. We only have exactly 8 tiles here, so these all have to be marked. And the 21 and 9 can't be connected up, so all of these tiles are disconnected. And now this has to be a minimum 2 here, and we have to have a 3 chain in here, 4 tiles, so we have to use the center 2. That now gives us our 3 chain, so disconnect this tile, and that's now done. This line is a minimum and maximum 1, so all of these tiles have to be disconnected from the neighbors. Here we have to have a 3 chain, and this is our only spot for it, so that's completed now. And now I believe the 21 here is done, so 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, 13, 15, 18, 19, 20, 21. So that's already done, disconnect this tile. Now here, we have to have a 2 chain in 3 tiles, so we have to use the center tile, and that completes our 2 chain, so disconnect this one. Here we have to have a minimum 2, so 1 and 2. And this 9 has 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and we have to go on, well actually to one of these tiles. But yeah, this is a minimum 2, so we can't fit a 2 chain in here. So this is disconnected, and this is our final tile for the 9. So that's done, that's done. And I think we actually can look at the 19 now. So if we count the 19, I think we again said that we had 17, but let's count again. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, 17. We need 2 more tiles for the 9. Here we need to make this into a minimum 3 chain, and here we need to make this into a 6 chain. What happens if we use this shared tile? If we mark this tile, we mark 18 tiles for the 19, but the 6 is done, so this tile is removed, and the minimum and, well, it's not a maximum 3, but in this line we have a minimum 3 and maximum 8. We have an 8 chain, we have to have a 3 chain as well, so this cannot be more than a 3 chain. So if this tile is marked, we would have to disconnect both of these tiles, leaving only 18 tiles for the 19 cluster. So this one cannot be marked, we can disconnect that and mark the other 2 tiles. Now let's disconnect or unmark some of the lines we're done with. There we go. Oh, Jesus, sorry about that. So now, what do we have now? Oh, here I finally found 1 tile, good lord. So this is all the way at the left of the, where we've completed the most stuff. At the left of what we still have to do, we have this line here with a minimum 3. So this tile has to be made into a minimum 3, so 1, 2, and 3. And this tile also has to be made into a minimum 3. So from this end, 1, 2, and this tile has to be marked. Now we get a 5 cluster, which completes the max 5 here. So disconnect that. And this line is now done. Now we can disconnect the 19 and 11 here, so those are gone. Now in this line we have to make a 4 chain here, that's the only spot for it, and we have to keep this as a 1 tile for the minimum 1, so that's disconnected as well. Now because we marked 1 tile here, this minimum maximum 6 has to make this into a 6 cluster here. And same for this one, minimum maximum 5, we now have to make this into a 5 cluster here. Now I think we already can count the 19 if I remember correctly. Here we have 3, 6, 9, 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, we need 2 more tiles on the 19, and in this line, we have a minimum 3. So this tile will become a minimum and maximum. So it will become a 3 chain either here, or one of each. So in either case, it'll add 2 tiles to the 19, meaning the 19 will be completed. So the 19 cannot use this tile. And now we have to make this into our 4 chain for this line, so that has to be marked. And then we have to have a one tile here, so this is disconnected, and that has to be marked. And the 19 and 11 can't be connected up, so this is disconnected here. This line needs a minimum and maximum 3, so there we get our 3 chain. Disconnect that tile, and disconnect this tile. These are done now. And here we have a minimum 2, maximum 4, and we only have enough tiles to have a 2 chain and a 4 chain, so we have to mark all of the tiles here. In this line we have a 3 chain, max 3, so that's disconnected. Here, minimum 4, so 1, 2, 3, and this has to be marked for 4, which can't be connected to anything in this line, so these tiles are disconnected. And this 22 and 11 can't be connected here, so that tile has to be gone. And now the minimum 4 means we have to mark this tile. And here, minimum 4 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we have to have our 6 chain somewhere, so we have to make this into our 6 chain. That's the only place to fit it, and then disconnect this tile. The 16 and 22 can't connect up here, and we need to preserve this 2 chain here for the minimum 2. And at that point, the 11 and 16 can't connect up here, so disconnect that tile. The minimum 3 here can't have a tile here. We can't fit a 3 chain in there. Now if we just count the 11 here, we have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, so that's already done. So this tile has to be disconnected. Now we have our 5 chain here, and we have to have our 6 chain here. So we have to mark both of these tiles. Now at that point, this minimum 3, if it starts here, we'll still need 1, 2, and this tile, 3. That didn't really do much. Now we can look at this line here. This line is a minimum, maximum 3, so we need to make a 3 chain here somewhere. But if we start the 3 chain here, we would have to go 1, 2, and 3, and we would connect up the 22 and the 5 cluster. So that doesn't work, we can't start a line here. We also can't start a line here, because then again we connect up the 5 and 22. So this is also disconnected. Now, we still don't have a 3 chain in this line, and we only have 4 tiles remaining. So these 2 center tiles have to be marked now, and then one of these 2 tiles will be marked for the final tile in the 3. Now here, max 3 already has a 3 chain, so disconnect that tile. But that's it there. But now we can look at this minimum 3, which now, even if it starts here, has 1, 2, and has to go on here to 3. But that's all we can say there, I believe. Right, so we can also look at this again now. Minimum 3, maximum 5. So either here or here we need to have a 5 chain. But we cannot have a 5 chain in these 6 tiles, because then the 5 would inevitably be connected up to the 3. So we have to have our 3 chain in these 6 tiles, and we have to have our 5 chain down here. So this tile has to be marked, and then one of these 2 will complete the 5. And the 3 chain cannot start here. If we mark a tile here, we would connect up the 5 and 22 again. So this is disconnected. Same here, this tile can't be marked, or we connect up the 22 and 5. So now we only have 4 tiles remaining for the 3 chain, so we have to mark this second tile here, and then one of these 2 tiles. But now the 5 cluster can't connect up to this tile, or it would get 6 in a cluster, so that is disconnected. That gives us the 5 chain here, and this tile cannot be marked anymore, and we get this tile for the final, the 3 chain here. This tile has to be a minimum 2, so that has to be marked. which now means we can't connect up this tile because we can't connect up the 5 cluster to this whole thing, and we also have to separate these 2 clusters here. And then here we have a minimum 2, maximum 3, so this has to be part of a minimum 2, which completes our 5 cluster, so disconnect all of the tiles surrounding it. Now here we have to have a 3 chain, and this is our only spot for it. Same here, we have to have a 3 chain, this is our only spot for it. Now at that point, I guess we just count the 22 here. We have 2, 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, and we need one more tile, so 22, and then disconnect it. My counting is deteriorating, I'm sorry. And then here, we now need to have our 5 chain, so this has to be marked, completing these 2 lines. This line is done as well. Yeah, that's that. Here, we have to have a minimum 3, so 1, 2, and 3. And this 16 and 17 can't connect up, so that has to be disconnected. And this tile can't be part of a minimum 3, so now we have to have our 4 chain down here, completing this line. And this 16 and 17 can't connect up here either, which gives us a minimum 3 here, so we have to make this into a 3 chain. And now I guess we just count the 16 here. We have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if we connect up either of these, we would get 15, 16, 17, 18. So these are both gone. And now here, minimum 3. Have to make a 3 chain here. Have to make a 3 chain here. And we have to have a 5 chain somewhere. And this is our only spot for it. So we have to use both of these tiles as well. Now here, we have a 2 chain here. We have to preserve that, so disconnect that tile. And this minimum 2, I mean the 16 cluster is already done, so the minimum 2 can't have a chain there. Now 16 and 17 can't connect up, so disconnect that tile. This 6 chain has only 1 tile left, so we have to connect that up. Here, minimum 3, 1, 2, 3. And this is also a maximum 3, so we have to disconnect this tile, then a 3 chain again, disconnect this tile, and we'll need 1 more 3 chain over here. Now what do we do? Here, minimum 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's also a maximum 3, so disconnect this tile. Oh, well, right away, just 17, 18 can't be connected up here. But that doesn't really help me right now. Oh, and here as well, 17 and 18 can't connect up here, which means we can't fit a 4 chain in here, so this is disconnected. And then we get 1, 2, 3, 4. And at this point, we need to have one of these be the 4 cluster and one of them be the 6 cluster or 6 chain. So the center tile here has to be marked now, because either we get this as a 6 cluster, or we get this as a 6 cluster, so that has to be marked. Now though, back to thinking. Well, we can mark this tile here for the 4 here, because either this will be our 1, we'll have a gap here and a 4 chain here, so this tile is marked, or this will be our 1, gap here, and a 4 chain here, so this tile will be marked regardless. And at this point, the sneaky thing is this 18 cluster cannot use either of these 2 tiles, because if we mark either of these tiles, the 18 cluster is using these 2, but one of these 2 tiles have to be our 4 chain, either going up here or down here, which has to be connected to the 17 cluster. So these 2 tiles you can already delete. And then we get 3 clusters here, so 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. Disconnect that, and disconnect this tile as well, because it can't be a 3 chain. Now here, we have to have a 3 chain. We can't fit one in here, so these tiles are gone. This line has only single tiles, so this tile is removed. And can we count this 16, maybe, at this point? Oh yeah, this is also another sneaky thing I remember. I think it's this tile cannot be marked right now. Right now we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We need 2 more tiles for this 16. But if we mark either of these 2 tiles, we have to mark both because this is a minimum 2. So if we don't use these two tiles, then we have to use these 2 tiles. And if we use both of these tiles, then we create a 3 chain here in this max 2 area. So we can't solve the 16 without using at least one of these 2 tiles, and because we need to use at least one of them, we have to use both. And that completes the 16 here, and you can disconnect those 2 tiles. Now, this minimum 1, maximum 2 only has this tile, this space left to have a 2 chain, so this center tile has to be marked, completing our 2 chain, and this is disconnected. And now we get our 4 chain complete there. Which means we have to mark a minimum 2 here, so 1 and 2. And now we just count our 17 here, which has 3, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and we have to have this as the 17th tile. Then here, minimum 2, 1 and 2. But that's all we can say right now. This line is done, this is done. This one we don't know yet. Right, so here, in this line, this has to be our 1 chain now. If it's not, or our single 1 tile, if it's not, and we mark this tile as well, then if we mark only a 2 chain and disconnect this, then we can't fit a 4 and a 1 chain in this remaining space. And if we mark this tile and continue on, then we get a 5 cluster, which is too many for the max 4. So this now has to be our single tile, we have to disconnect this, and then here we'll have to make a 4 chain, so we have to mark this tile, and then one of these 2 to make the 4 chain. And at that point... Oh, I think maybe I see something. So, what did I say? We have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If we were to mark this tile, we would mark this up to be the 6th chain in this line, so we would get 15, 16. But then this line needs to have 3 chains, so if we mark this tile, we would add 2 more tiles in for this 18, so that would be 17 and 18. But at that point, we have not finished this 6 cluster, so we would not be able to do that since the 18 cluster would be done. So this tile cannot be marked, we can delete this tile. And then we get our 6 chain here. This level is quite something, isn't it? And then here now we only have 1 spot left for our 3 chains, we have to mark these and disconnect these 2 tiles. Now the 17 can't connect up to the 18, so that tile is gone. And here, minimum 3, we have to make a 3 chain at least here, so this tile has to be marked. And we can't make a 3 chain in here, so these 2 tiles are now disconnected. Right here, we have a minimum, maximum 3, so 1, 2, and 3. Disconnect this tile, and now this has to be disconnected as well. That finally gives us our 3 chain down here, which I believe now completed this 22. So 5, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So these tiles are all disconnected now. And now we need our 3 chain up here, so that's complete. And then this line has a minimum 2, maximum 4, so 1, 2. And then we count the 17, which has 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and needs 17, and then gets disconnected. Now we need our 4 chain here, completing that line. This tile has to be a minimum, maximum 1, so disconnect that tile. And now the final thing is this 18. In this 18, I have like not unmarked some of these lines, but whatever, it doesn't matter. This 18 has 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16, and we need 2 more tiles. It's the same as we saw before, except flipped. Now, if we do use this shared tile, we would get 17, but then this tile would be gone because of max 3, and this tile would be gone because of the max 6. So if we mark this tile, we only get 17 tiles in this 18 cluster. So this one has to be disconnected, and we have to use the remaining 2 tiles. Good lord! That's it! That's the ring. Okay, I mean, I'll make a couple cuts, like 1 or 2. I honestly don't think I'll cut out too much, because most of that was actually solving the level. it is by far one of the worst endurance levels. I'm kind of curious to see if maybe Snowflake, the final level, will actually end up taking longer than the ring. But yeah, this is gonna be fun to edit. Maybe I'll have to skip even more of my schedule and do this as a, like, 3-parter, essentially, like, uploading it after 3 slots have passed. I don't know, we'll have to see how much time I have and when I can get this up, but I guess I'm gonna prioritize having these levels in just one video for the sake of just having one video. Like, this is the walkthrough video for this level instead of splitting it up, and I'll have to deprioritize uploading every single time I was supposed to upload or whatever. So, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. I'm surprised I actually did that as smoothly as I did. I mean, I still got stuck here and there, but like, it's what, like 4 AM at this point? I'm very tired, and again, I even did a full practice run beforehand, so that took some stuff out of me as well. But I do think I explained everything. There was no guessing involved, it was all deduction, and I guess that's about all you can expect from this level. So, next time we'll do Silver Fern, which honestly I don't remember is that bad. It's kind of an extensive level, so I'm sure it's going to be a long one too, but it doesn't really have that many tricky bits. But then the final one, Snowflake, does have some tricks as well, so that one could be a bit hard to explain and also take a long time, but we'll see. For now, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed. I'll see you some other time.